This video is to help you with Part 2 study guide. So you should make sure that you have this study guide in front of you that's in your notebook. And you want to start down here on question 1. What revolution began in 1789? So I'm going to go through a PowerPoint that will help you answer all the questions in the study guide. So just pause when you need to copy down the information. And let's just start with, to get, again, a better idea. So right here is the map, and the green side, which is the east side of Hispaniola, is today the Dominican Republic. So this is where the Spanish came and set up a colony, and we have not learned too much about this colony at all. We've been focusing on the western part of the island of Hispaniola, which is today Haiti, and back then it was called Saint Dominique. So Santo Domingo is the green, which is today DR, and Saint Dominique is the orange, which is today Haiti. And here's just another picture of it, again showing the east side is Dominican Republic, and the west side, the green, is Haiti. So at this point, we've learned that there's sugar plantation, there's slavery on the island in Saint Dominique. So it's making the French government, the French people, very wealthy, because they're able to produce the sugar and sell it all around the world, and the slaves are doing it without getting paid. So it talks about the slaves being brought from Africa to work on the plantations. And remember, African slaves outnumbered the French colonists. There were 500,000 slaves to about 20,000 colonists. The colonists lived comfortably while they worked the slaves to exhaustion. And that we know. The slaves are doing all the hard labor, and they had horrible conditions. As the slaves' anger at their harsh treatment built up, some of them began to look for opportunities to revolt. So this is when they start planning, and they're sneaking food, and they're sneaking messages to one another. This is a picture of someone who is going to be very important in the fighting coming up, Toussaint Louverture, and he is the leader of the rebels that starts the uprising. So this is the second question. So let me answer the first question for what revolution took place in 1789. It was, right here you see it, the French Revolution. So French Revolution is the revolution that took place. So that will answer question number 1. And that was just something in France that was occurring. So remember, it's across the ocean, it's over in Europe, and they said, you know what, we don't want a king anymore. We want to be able to vote and have a say in how our country moves forward. So they got rid of the king. There was like an uprising over there. But as part of it, they had this thing called, and it's right here, the Declaration of the Rights of Man. So this is what's going to help us answer this second question, because in it, it says everyone's equal, that all people of France should be seen as equal. But on the island, there was divisions about this. So the first effect of the French Revolution on Saint Dominique was that there was a division between the poor and the wealthy whites. So that's the first effect. And what it was the whites felt like, oh, well, that Declaration of Rights of Man, that applies to us too, so we should have the same privileges of you. And the wealthy said, oh, no, 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 it's just us. So there was tensions and divisions there. Now the second effect is also between the whites. So they broke off, the French colonists kind of split off into two groups. One of the groups said, hey, you know what? I don't even want to be a part of the French government. They're too far away. They're not involved. We can run this colony by ourselves. Let's start our own country, and we'll break free from France. And then the other group said, no, we really like being a part of France and having that country look out for us. And it's okay. They can keep managing us. So there was a division there. And then the third effect of the revolution was a division between the white French colonists and then the affranchis. So to remember, the affranchis were people of color. A lot of them were mulatto or black that used to be slaves, and now they're free. So they were free, and they had their own plantations, and they started to make a lot of money. So they said, oh yeah, that Declaration of the Rights of Man, that applies to us too, because we're free, we're on the island, and we should have equal rights as the white French colonists. And the white French colonists said, no. So it is important to note that the affranchis, they were wealthy, but a lot of it was because of the slaves. So they did not want to end slavery, but they did want to end racial discrimination. Like, they were being discriminated against because they were people of color. So, but they did want to keep slavery because it was keeping them wealthy. So when the slaves heard of the French Revolution, they felt that the French government would be too busy dealing with the turmoil in France to send help across the sea. So remember, they're passing secret messages, and the Maroons are in the mountain, and they're planning, and they said this would probably be a great time to do our rebellion and fight and get free all the slaves, because they're all fighting over in France, so they're so busy over there that they won't even be able to send help from France. So this is the next question on the study guides. When and where did the rebellions begin? So when is August 1791, and they started in the northern part of Haiti, and this was after months of planning. And a very cool thing that they did was the night before the rebellion, as a way to commit to their promise to fight for freedom, they got together and they had the voodoo ceremony. So they came together and they did the dancing and the drumming, and they all committed to, this is going to happen tomorrow. And they really made it very ceremonious and prepared for the next day. Here is Toussaint Louverture, which is the one that I showed you a picture of at the beginning. And he's the freed slave that led the uprising against the colonists. So the next question on your study guide is, what did the rebels want? They wanted emancipation and expulsion of whites from the island. Emancipation, we know, means freedom. So they wanted to be free from slavery. So that's one thing. An expulsion of the whites means to force all whites off the island. That's what the rebels wanted. What were the 3 European countries involved in the fighting? First, we had Spain, because remember, they have a colony over in what is now DR, Santo Domingo. So they were involved because we would get, some of the Haiti rebels would get supplies from Santo Domingo, and Spain was aware of it. Great Britain also gets involved, and as we know, France is involved in the fighting. So it's important to consider how each group defined freedom. So for the rebel leaders, they wanted to continue the plantation system, but they would have workers, not slaves, and they were paid for their work. But the masses, most of them, just wanted to have their own land and just be able to have a farm and just work for themselves. Slavery was abolished by France in 1794, so the fighting helped. And then 2 causes of the Civil War we will get into on the next video.